Right, we are live once again. Today is March 21st, 2016, and despite all the nice warm weather that Minnesota has been experiencing, it sounds like it may be in for somewhat of a crash. And Dr. Tom Novak is once again here to talk about a possible snowstorm this week. Tom, if you live in Minneapolis, St. Paul, what are the odds that you're going to get a good snowstorm?
50-50. How does that sound, Bill?
That sounds good.
That's a cop out, and I don't want to go with that. I mean, here's what I can tell you, Bill. There seems to be no doubt that the further south you head from the downtowns of Minneapolis and St. Paul, the more likely you are to run into the heavy snow. So as you're traveling even into the southern suburbs, let's say Dakota, Scott County, southern Washington County, those areas should certainly see a lot more snow than Anoka, Wright, northern Washington counties. Within a 50-mile difference, there's going to be a large spread, a large gradient in the snow totals the way it appears right now. We're used to that. That's been happening a lot lately, it seems, in the Twin Cities, and this appears to be no difference. And this is quite typical of March snowstorms, these very sharp gradients where within a 50-mile wide spread, Bill, you can get no snow to 10 inches plus.
Why is that more common in March, Tom?
Well, just because these storms are stronger, the contrast in air masses seem to be stronger. You get dry air that hits the moist air, and there's a very strong dividing line with that dry air and moist air in the spring. Seems like a little bit more than what you get in the winter. In the winter, there seems to be more of an opportunity for overrunning to occur to where it spreads out a little bit more. And you get more intense snowfall rates too in the spring usually. And that, of course, creates quite a gradient from the who is and who's not. So there's a lot going on. People in Rochester, Albert Lee, Owatonna, along that I-90 corridor, those are the ones that really look like are going to get the big wallop here from this snowstorm. And it could easily reach 10, 12 inches plus of snow down in those areas. But of course, we're waiting for model data to come down, Bill. 7 p.m. model runs are coming in right about now. So we're going to be able to digest some of that latest stuff because there are surprises, Bill, like there always is with storms.
Now, Tom, the big snow from a couple months ago, or the Groundhog Day big snowstorm, the models actually were originally farther south than the storm ended up moving, right? The storm.
Right. Well, you get wobbles in the storm track with all models. They're never straight on perfect, 48 to 60 hours advance. It's rare that they are. So you got to expect there's going to be a wobble. And in these types of situations, Bill, even a 50-mile wobble, which is, razor thin in the weather world, that 50 miles is going to make a huge difference. And I'm going to show you why, Bill. And I'm going to show you why there are some concerns too with this storm that it might bust, especially for those in the Twin Cities on north. This is the jet stream structure, Bill, from the NAM computer model. This is for Wednesday morning. And of course, we have that large buckle in the jet stream. That is indicative of a very strong storm system that's going to be developing on the nose of this jet streak that's coming up out of New Mexico and Texas into Kansas. On the nose, upper left quad of this jet is where you get the storm system to develop. So Nebraska, northeast Colorado, you can expect a low pressure system to develop there on Wednesday morning. And then watch what happens with this jet structure, Bill. Really a beautiful looking comma shape to this jet structure with strong winds coming up out of the Gulf of Mexico, going almost straight north into Wisconsin. So there's no doubt that this storm system is going to be able to tap some moisture, and it's going to throw it north into the upper Midwest. And of course, Bill, we have to look at the 850 millibar temperature map. This is, of course, is the air temperature a little bit above the surface of the earth, a little bit above some of the highest high rises out there in Chicago and New York. If you go a little bit above that, that's where you get the 850 millibar level. And this is important because this light blue line, Bill, is the 32 degree Fahrenheit line. That's where you usually get a changeover from snow to rain and vice versa. Now, here's what we have for Wednesday morning, Bill. I want you to take a look at what's going on up in Canada here. That is some Arctic air, some bitter Arctic air as you get up near James Bay up there, even sinking as far south as northern Lake Superior. So there's going to be some cold air for this big storm system on Wednesday to tap. And watch what this cold air does during the day on Wednesday. It starts to sink south and actually wrap into the storm system, creating what we call a baroclinic zone, Bill. And that's just a couple of fancy words for telling you that there's going to be a sharp temperature gradient at almost all layers of the atmosphere here in the upper Midwest. And that means a massive storm system, one that's going to pack quite a punch. And no doubt, this is the 850 millibar map for Monday evening around 9-10 p.m. More than cold enough for snow over all of southern Minnesota.
Tom, you mean Wednesday evening, right?
Oh, yeah, Wednesday, late Wednesday night. So somewhere around 9-10 p.m. This is what this 850 millibar map is for. So no doubt that it'll be cold enough for snow. In fact, if we back it up just a little bit, Bill, even by Wednesday around noon, it should be cold enough for snow even in the Twin Cities at that time. So throughout the majority of this event, if we do get precipitation in the Twin Cities, from about noon Wednesday on, it should be in the form of snow, or at least rain quickly changing over to snow with this storm system. So this is big, and it's certainly worth watching. Now, Bill, I'm going to show several snowfall total maps, or at least potential snowfall total maps. I'm going to show you why we are concerned with this storm system, because this is the European model. Okay, and the European model has been pretty consistent in its last few model runs with where it thinks the snow is going to fall. So here's by about Thursday night, Friday morning, where the European model thinks the main band of snow is going to be. Well south of the Twin Cities. In fact, even well south of Rochester and Eau Claire. So we would be talking about a snow axis, heavy snow axis from Ames, Iowa, up through Prairie du Chien, and then east on to Appleton, Wisconsin, and just north of Milwaukee. Okay, so that's the European model. If you believe the European model, you wouldn't dare predict snow in the Twin Cities for Wednesday into Thursday morning. However, here's what causes headaches for us in the weather forecasting world. This is the NAM high-res computer model. This is hot off the press. This is from 1 o'clock this afternoon. Look at where it has the main snow band. This is stretching from Fairmont, Minnesota along I-90, east-northeast through Owatonna, and then continuing northeast through Red Wing and then to Eau Claire, including a good chunk of the southern metro. You can't really see very well here, Bill, but this little white pinkish area here, that's southern Dakota County. The NAM computer model, high-res, is predicting 15 to 20 inches of snow in southern Dakota County. In fact, it thinks that almost a foot of snow is going to fall as far north as about MSP International.
Wow.
And then, and then look at the tight gradient in the snow, Bill. Hardly anything, a coating to 2 inches up in Anoka and Wright County to as much as, well, 15 to 20 inches in Dakota County.
So Tom, the obvious question is what model has performed better this year?
Well, all these models kind of are good at certain things and not good at other things. You know that I'm a big believer in the European computer model, but it's hard to ignore the NAM computer model because even the GFS is showing almost the same thing as the NAM computer model. So now, granted, they kind of feed off of each other, so that is not much of a surprise. But long story short, the American models are acting a lot different than the European model guidance. So, and again, this is the NAM, or I'm sorry, this is the GFS computer model now, Bill. So this is the third model data that I'm showing you. And the GFS also believes that the main snow band is going to be over southern Minnesota, including the southern Twin Cities, in through a good chunk of Wisconsin. So, this is a headache, Bill. It's very difficult to come out and say exactly what's going to happen when you've got these computer models disagreeing right now like they are, especially when you have the European model, which a lot of people rely on. They rely on that guidance, and it's showing an easiness. In fact, it's not even close where the snow is from the European model compared to American models. Now, the reason why the European model has a snow band so much further south is because it's tracking the storm system about 150 miles further south than the American models. So now, keep in mind, Bill, with that snow band so close to the Twin Cities, at least I'm going to go with the American models, right? If we nudge that storm track even 30 to 50 miles further northwest, that's razor thin. That could easily happen. That
Mhm.
would put the Twin Cities metro, all of the metro, in the heavy snow band. So that's something we're going to have to watch and watch closely.
But do you think by tomorrow afternoon the models will be in closer agreement?
Oh, there's no doubt. We're going to start to get some consensus here. I think even with this evening's model runs, we'll start to get some consensus. And certainly by tomorrow noon or early afternoon, we'll be able to, I mean, not say for sure or give you a 100%, but we're going to feel much more confident on exactly what's going to happen come tomorrow afternoon. Now, this is your travel impact map from Novak Weather Bill, and you can see at least what I'm leaning towards. I'm kind of taking a middle of the road approach between the European computer guidance and the American guidance. And I think that the heavy snow axis is going to stretch from Sioux City, Iowa to about Rochester, Minnesota, and then east to near Green Bay, Wisconsin. Okay, so that's kind of splitting the difference, maybe just a little bit further north than maybe the European model would like me to predict, but that's where I'm expecting the heaviest snow band. And then, of course, accumulating snow into the southern metro. I do think that's going to happen. And I also do think that a sharp gradient in snow is going to occur across the Twin Cities metro. So those up in St. Cloud, Brainerd, you're going to be wondering what all the fuss is about come Thursday morning, because you will likely hardly even have a flake on the ground there, while southern metro and, of course, Rochester and Eau Claire and Albert Lee are going to be really picking up some heavy snow out of this.
What do you expect the snow to be? Heavy and wet, fluffy? What kind of consistency?
It would be a heavy, wet snow almost any time in late March when you start getting a snowstorm. You can pretty much bet that it's going to be a 10-to-1 to 12-to-1 type of a snow-water ratio, which means concrete-like snow, going to be tough to push around. They call it heart attack snow because it's so heavy lifting it with a shovel. There's no doubt that this would be that kind of snow. And I'm worried about trees coming down, of course, power lines snapping in the area that receives the heaviest snow, because you start caking on 10, 12, 14 inches of heavy wet snow on power lines and tree branches, of course, you know what's going to happen. So that's another thing we'll need to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Well, sounds like we should know more 24 hours from now.
That's right. Stay tuned to Novak Weather, of course, Twitter, Facebook, and Minnesota Forecaster. If you've never been, go to that website, because there is some great talk on MinnesotaForecaster.com. You can listen to all us geeks talk about it, and people who just enjoy the weather and don't have it as use it as a profession. They are also chiming in on that website.
Check is in the mail for that comment, Tom.
You got it, buddy. Hey, maybe we'll talk tomorrow night about this.
Sounds good. Thanks for the input, Tom.
See you, William.
Yep. Bye-bye.